Hello there, and welcome to my little corner here on YouTube, my arty, creative little corner. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been here. Same story, I burned out again, or, overwhelmed myself so much that I couldn't bring many words to bear. I had some commitments. I had quite a biggie, a biggie, biggie peoply week last week and over the weekend before. It takes it out of me, it really does. But I try to do YouTube at the moment as and when I can. I'm beginning to wonder whether I've got long COVID, to be honest, because my iron, my blood, everything is fine. I don't know whether it's still perimenopausal and the HRT has helped, but not enough, or whether it really is long COVID, because I've had this tiredness since I had COVID way back in, well, actually the end of 2019. I persevere, I will get there. And I thank you all very much for hanging on and holding in for me. And thank you so much to everybody who's new here, who's joined me and has left lovely messages. And I'll try to answer the messages today. I ain't going to promise anything. It depends how I am after chopsing for so long. I have got a cold mug of tea with me, pretty owls on it. Everything I have tends towards the whimsy. But what I thought I'd do today in the video, I'm going to try to do 2 videos today. This one, which hopefully I'll get uploaded, and then I'll let you know what time I'm going to go live this evening in the UK, because I think I'll need a couple of hours to calm down after wrangling with YouTube and everything else. And then I'll come along and do some drawing and so on. But I thought I'd show you some stuff I've been doing in my absence from YouTube. I can't remember what I've shown you, if I have shown you, or anything like that. So let's have a look, let's have a chat, and let's just see what's occurring or what's been occurring here with me. So I haven't been posting much to social media, and there's a story about me in social media at the moment that I just want to share. I'm going to start here with some of my creepy, cute illustrations. They are, I have a look of randomness, but I guess there's a story about them all. And the biggest story is they make me smile. I get so much joy out of drawing silly, whimsical, slightly creepy, sometimes totally cutesy characters, and just having them piled up and on a page, and with flowers and mushrooms and seed pods and skulls and all the things I love. Even a steampunky rainbow there of sorts. But it just brings me joy. I enjoy sitting down with a pen and not planning anything out and just seeing where it leads. It really does. I love these vintagey tones. I've tended towards those, kind of. There's something about the vintagey tones and creepy cute that makes me smile. And you can see I changed from more ordinary colours up to these. These are marker pens. I think they're all, what do you call them? Pro markers, but I could be wrong. But there was just something about these. They're not as clean a colour as I like. And so I dug through and found vintagey colours, steampunky colours, and used those. And I thought, I really like that. And then I realised, do I leave the background white or do I colour it in? And I thought, I'm not going to try and colour it in. Not with markers, not with anything else, because I know I'm going to mess it up. This was all the way back in the 25th of June this year. And you can see around the side, there's all kinds of notes I made about my thoughts at the time. So I can reflect on this and perhaps make a list of things for me to remember in a notebook that I can keep with my art. I've said this so often and I lose them all the time, but I think it would be really nice. I do like the shading or the dimension I've managed to get here with slightly darker tones and sometimes grey pens to shade. I also like the use of little white dots to lighten things up and to add that highlight, and again, adding the contrast between light and dark to help bring out dimension. So quirky cute. And I thought about using coloured pencils to add depth, and I think I did use some coloured pencils on this, but it's so long ago I can't remember. Did I say what they were? I can't read it, but no, my glasses are over there. This is another one that I did, and I've got somewhere. Oh, here's the original. So that's in black and white. That's the original drawing, and I remember to print it out. This one was the original that I coloured in. but it's no great shakes because I'm always happy to draw more of them. Let me just pop them to one side. I've got a fan on, so hopefully you won't hear it, but I really need the fan on. It's not hot, but I'm warm today, and it gets warmer inside when the sun, in my room here, when the sun's round to the south. So this is the black and white version. Again, made me smile with all these funny characters. Some of them are in my next book to come out, which is Haunted. Is it Haunted? Yes, Haunted. And some of them are brand new. Some of them have just come out. One of my favourites, sort of like columns on one side that sort of like has got these faces in, obviously skull-like and with eyes, and it just makes me smile. I don't know why, but they do. It's me. I guess it's one of my styles of artwork. Lovely dinosaur and so on. And then these were definitely done all in steampunky kind of colours, vintagey colours. The background I did colour in with an alcohol marker, but then I used a very fine line, orangey or golden browny colour to crosshatch to add some pattern to it. And I can see on my screen here that it's picking that up and it's making the screen go wibbly wobbly. And I'm sorry if that comes out on the video when it's been processed. But I had a lot of fun doing this, and what a difference it makes and how the characters come to life. And of course the colours you choose set the kind of tone for the drawing, set the emotions or the feeling or the mood. That's the word I was looking for, the mood for the drawing. And this one does have that vintagey, oldie worldy kind of feel. This is another one. This is another original. And I think it's just, I drew some people in the Haunted book, not very well, and some of my creepy characters were sort of peopleish. And this started off a train of discovery, which we'll come to. Love my spire of woody, twiggy, spirally, sort of like tangled up kind of things. And just in black and white, you can see everything. I didn't add any shading other than very fine lines and stippling, and some cross hatching as well. And of course, that means then it can be hard to see different elements. So let me just have a quick flick through, because I know I started adding colour to this one. There we go. I haven't finished it. I got so far and I got distracted by something else. But the colour really, again, sort of vintagey, oldie worldy, sort of like colours that go well with the creepy cute look. And it just helps to bring the different sections out, I think. Colours are quite dark on the screen. See them? But lots of these yellowy green colours, I tend to favour that kind of green. This one's okay, but I might glaze over it with a yellowy green just to bring it in line with everything else, because on its own it sticks out a bit like a sore thumb. But perhaps that one just wants to stick out like a sore thumb. It's having so much fun with these kinds of colours. Here's another one. It's landscape this time. And for some reason I decided to have eyes in mushrooms. Don't ask. I've got no idea where that came from, but it came from somewhere. And again, I haven't added any colour to this one. I think I've printed it out ready for colouring, but I haven't. I have a problem with adding colour to things. I get very fed up of it very quickly, and I tend to put things to one side partly finished. I love the drawing. I love seeing things come, appearing on my paper and bringing me joy. And adding colour can do that, but I get very easily overwhelmed by the size of the job to do. And my advice to other people is just do it one thing at a time. Yeah, right. If I start, I will either finish or I'll put it to one side and maybe not come back to it. But I think that one I put to one side because I was thinking, not so sure about those colours. I've had to look at it now and I think, yeah, I actually like those. But my mind is such that it's constantly wanting to explore and to look at new things and to gain new ideas and to try different things out. It's the way I add to my sort of like idea or texture pattern or shapes and motifs and all kinds of things that I love to draw in my head. There's a hoard in there somewhere, like a collection of things that I draw on and it comes out in my work. So I thrive that not constant stimulation, but that constant exploration, the excitement of new things. And even when I'm using something new and exploring and going with it, that's exciting. But then there's the next thing and the next thing. And then using them in drawings, seeing how things work. Just notice my spider ear looks like it's got a parachute. I think it needs a bit of an erase actually, but that's fine. This character, cheeky so-and-so. Some might say he's looking really wicked, but I just think he's really cheeky. And this one, how to stop a snaky thing from biting you, stand on its tongue, apparently. But yeah, birds and cats and all sorts of weird and wonderful things, including something that looks a bit like a carrot or a weird shaped apple. Who knows? Sad skull. Here's another one. And there's the, no, that's not the original. Where's the original of that one? Not here. I think that one is the original. This one, I was really pleased with the colours until I put that blue cross hatching in the background, and then I felt I lost it. But, you know, these things can be redrawn, redone. There are certain characters, I love this character here. I really do. The poor surprised looking, you know, I'm not sure what this reindeer feels about having some kind of creature juggling on top of its head, looking with its tongue out, concentrating hard. I like the flying eyeball. And this teapot. Of course there's a teapot somewhere. And almost like froggy eyes. But I enjoyed doing that. Wasn't so sure about the bottom, but as I look back in hindsight, it's nice. I love the shading I've got here. I can't remember how I did it. I know it's all alcohol markers. And this is one I haven't done anything with yet, or have I? No, I haven't. There's another one. I've got them all over the place. That's another original drawing. So this one, you know, I couldn't help. Oops, I've inked it. Oops, I've inked. Yeah, because I actually managed to make a weird mark, and my pen dropped on the page. So I thought rather than, you know, going, oh no, I'm forgetting about it, I decided to turn it into an ink splash, ink splot. And of course, you know, squid, they have ink in them. And I've just got a paw sticking up here. The paw belongs to the bunny shaped thing. A cheeky, lovely little cat who is so cute. And some weird guy with mushrooms. And of course, tentacles. You've got to have tentacles. A butterfly with legs. All good fun. Fish, little dangles. I used to do dangles a lot. I've done dangles for a while. And then there's this one. Again, you know, this is 16th of July, so only just over, it seems like ages since I did these, yet it's only just over a month. Background was coloured with distress inks, and I used alcohol markers and pencils. Did I not? I think I used alcohol markers, and then I added extra colour and shading with coloured pencils. And that was really frustrating for me because I like pencils to a degree, but I can get really frustrated with them. Really cute. I love my little birds. It's my favourite thing on here. I love my little mouse that's looking both smug and, oh goodness, I'm on top of a skull, look. What's going on here? But I had fun. This is one that I drew. I think you saw this creature, this character in another one or something similar. And I thought I'd like to do like a little portrait of them. So I've got this here, but I haven't done anything with it yet. I wonder what's hiding in there. You've got to have weird things. They're not earrings, but I would love earrings like that with skulls and bows. I really, really would. So if anybody knows where you can get them, let me know, or who could make them for me, because I would love a pair of earrings. I don't find them spooky or distasteful in any kind of way. I think it's the scientist in me, my love of fossils and bones and what things are made of, that inquiring, curious mind of mine. And I actually find skulls quite charming in a weird kind of way. Yeah, so they don't scare me. You know, you're talking or you're listening to a woman who was a science teacher for 28 years who often had a human skeleton in her room, real human skeleton, school skeleton. And in the day, bought a long time ago when people could still buy real human skeletons rather than, what do you call them? Copies, not copies, but you know what I mean, casts of them. And we had one, which fascinated and horrified the kids in equal measure until they'd met it and went, actually, it's not scary at all, is it? I said, no, this is what you look like on the inside that makes you your shape. If not, you'd be like a pink slug on the floor. At which point they went, Miss, that's gross. Yes, to say thank you for your skeleton. And they just look at me and go, yeah. This is something I took from a sketch. I'll show you the sketches in a moment. I'm not happy with the hand lettering, but I like the message. And it is the things that make me different are the things that make me me. And that's something I'm learning to accept, or have been accepting and increasingly accepting in the last year and a half or so, actually a bit longer than that. And I wouldn't be me if I wasn't the way I am. And I'm quite happy with my quirks and oddities and my weirdnesses. It is who I am, and I'm not going to change that. This is based on a book, drawings by Danielle Donaldson, who has got two fantastic books out. I think one's called Creative Watercolor, the other one is called Creative Girl. And she shows how to draw people in her way. So this one is pretty much like hers. But I thought, how would I look? Because I'm not a thin lass. I'm quite a chunky lady, hefty, you might say. So I made myself nice and chunky. I don't know, flat chest, yeah, more or less, unless I got strappingly good underwear on. And my hair is sort of like grey silver, but I thought I'd like it sort of like light lavender with some flowers in my hair because there's a hippie in me. That kind of view. If I was old enough in the days of the hippies, I definitely would have been at festivals and things. As it was, I still went to festivals, but rock festivals in my late teens, early 20s. And it's typical. My dress is leggings and a long top, loose top, because I'm comfortable. I try to love everybody and everything, not as in romantic love, but that kind of just acknowledging that people are people and there's goodness in everybody, even if they don't know it and don't act upon it. And, to try and reach out to that part of them. Yeah, I know. I'm also an idealist and a dreamer. Song of my life, or one of the songs that represent me, would be Imagine by John Lennon. Totally so. And of course, I love cats, ravens, birds in general, but ravens in particular. And that one's a king, because why not? They love stars, and I've got little fairy wings and so on, and a little bunny because, what doesn't go better than a cat and a bunny? And just gems and jewels and weird hairstyles. Well, my hair's not thick enough to do that, but if I could, I would. And it's not long enough, but it was good fun to do. And those were coloured in with alcohol markers. Oh, there's that one. That's the original of one that I've shown you. That's all my creepy cutes. I've got people to show you. These are some drawings I've done, and they're in the wrong kind of order, I think. Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's one I'm still working on. I think that one belongs there. There we go. So that one goes first, then that one. That's about right. Hang on. Is it? Well, they're all around the same time. So this was one that I did, and I left it without any shading on, and I shared a picture of it without any texture on it, and then I started to add texture, and I think I might have over-egged it a bit. I have got a picture of it somewhere partway through, but this is the finished thing. I just haven't added any shadows to help to lift things up off the paper and to bring some more dimension into it. But I thoroughly enjoyed doing this. I say this about all the art, all the different styles or the ways that I create. I do love doing them. And I tend to drift from one to another, almost when I don't know what to do with this. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. I'm going to move on. And I often end up back at art like this as kind of a comfort art. It's familiar, it feels safe. I enjoy the shapes I draw. I enjoy how things come together. And with this one, I had the idea of trying to keep to the same kind of shapes or the same kind of motifs, even though there's variations. The one thing I'd wished was all of these shells here, where you can see, that's Diva Dance, I think there, Zentangle pattern. I love this. It looks so shell-like. I wish I'd done it in colour or in grey. and perhaps started from the middle out, because at the ends it's getting lost. Whereas if I'd put it at the beginning, it would have been noticeable. But I think that might be to do with the fact I then cross-hatched the background and put texture around it and things like that. And that, I think, was an afterthought. It wasn't something I did first. I get myself in a pickle, but once you start, you've got to carry on. And I really enjoyed doing this. I think I worked with an 03 and a 0.005. It might have been an 02 and a 0.005. So very fine lines. And if you know me, then you'll know this. If you don't know me, I often, for my creepy cute characters, I tend to favour an 05 for drawing. For these, I decided to work with something that was much finer and thinner to try and get the delicacy in. It's not something I tend towards, but I really enjoyed it. This one I did it was still with an 03, but dear goodness, it was a really worn out one, so I've got thicker lines. But I got all of this over here done, and then suddenly I'd been looking at some medieval manuscripts and the patterns that are there, and suddenly all of this came out as I had seen things and wanted to work with them. It's not all identical quite, different kinds of flowers and buds along the way, different ways of putting things together. But there are patterns and shapes, these developed from these, so it's like a horde of variations on a theme, but they all belong together because like you see, on oak trees, the acorns are sort of the same on the same species of oak tree, but even between acorns from the same oak tree, there are differences and variations and things you might be more prominent on one of them than on another. Nature's fascinating. It is. And I got a bit of thing about these kinds of spirally shells. I really have. And all of these lovely lines that create all of these textures and dimension. Haven't done anything with shading on this. Don't know what I'd do here. I want to leave the background open. I may colour it in, but I got a feeling if I want to do that, I'm going to do it digitally because it would be a lot quicker. B, I can get the flat colours I want, and C, if I make a mistake, I can easily undo it. And I think digital colouring may be the way for me to go with many things, to be honest. But I still love traditional media. So these two developed from that. This was one here, and I think this was one I did that led to that, or who knows, I don't know. Again, very light, airy, sort of like foliage there. And then this one, I used an 01 or no, the 005, 01 I think I used. Very fine pen. And the pattern was so light and airy, I didn't want to fill the whole section up. I felt that's it, perfect for a quote or, for whatever. I really enjoyed doing that. Then this came along. And I think this one followed on from the first one. And I did fill these shells and some of them completely with DeviantArt. And I used a fountain pen with diamine antique copper or ancient copper ink in, which is lovely red brown. This paper is Nina, I think it's the Nina Bristol, and it does soak up ink quite a lot. So the ink colour is quite a bit darker than I would have wanted, but not as dark as I remember it. So perhaps it fades as it has several weeks drying time. But I've started adding grey shading. But these are the things that surprised me. I don't know where the idea came from, it just did. Here there's the echo of the patterns of diva dance, almost like there's a shadowy or ghostly shell underneath. These have the feelings of leaves and pods, waves. This is the only bit I really don't like. I don't know why I did that, but I did. But it would be easy enough to digitally erase it if I wished and put something else in there. Again, fine pens, I think I used an 02 or an 03 for the thicker lines. For the finer lines, it was definitely a 0.005. And this was an extra fine fountain pen. I love that colour. I do. And this is one that's work in progress. Instead of a fountain pen, I've used, this was a Staedtler Triplus fine liner, and it's this lovely sort of like orangey brown colour. And that lifts and lightens everything up. I mean, I've used a warm grey because I've started putting shading on there, shadowing. But that's something I'll go back to maybe. If not, I've got it as reference. Okay, next book. I have got so many sketchbooks. It's ridiculous. I don't think I've ever completely filled a sketchbook in my life. And I often take paper out of them because I dislike working in a sketchbook. I think, yes, I'll do it this time. And then my hand feels awkward on the edges no matter how I turn it round. So in the end, I end up taking paper out, which is fine because you can see I take it out, but it leaves these little gaps so I can just pop it back in. And the binding keeps it all together. This was back in, I think it was August 20th. No, I think it was July. I've got some weird things there, but it's got a date and it's got the year. It hasn't got the month. I think it was July. And I was having a bit of a crisis. I wasn't in a very good place. And so I started using this as some journaling. So I'm going to turn the page over, and this one was. And I'm going to use this actually as I was writing. I thought, this one here, see, me again and me. You know, yes, I know. Don't draw me, but apparently I do now. I found my whimsical way. A little kitten in my pocket. I wish. Raven and another kitten. But lots of things went down there. I was thinking about my art and thinking about art styles and just going with it. And this followed on, kind of. And I was thinking about it, just looking at it. I haven't really got a really nice big focal point. So on this one, I thought I'd start with a nice big focal point, only to find that bits underneath were bigger. But I added colour and suddenly that comes out, and then with shading, the rest will go there. Looks a bit succulentish. I think I used Pitt artist pens, Pitt artist pens for that. I think, I could be wrong. Now, if you watch my last live, whether you watched it live or you've been to the live section of my channel, you'll have seen I explored some of these shapes with you. And this was my page of them that I did before the video, and that gave me the idea. I like shapes. I like to explore shapes. I like to try different things out. A lot of these I like. A couple of them I was going, what was I thinking? And as I look back at them, I'm going, actually, there's not really anything here I don't like. Some of the colours are a bit suspect. I like this one here, actually, with the brown on top of that greeny grey. And that brown sort of almost changes, the feeling changes as the grey gets darker. The feeling of the brown, or the appearance of the brown changes. So that's where that came from. This was something fun because I've been playing with watercolours. I'm trying to use watercolours. And this one is all based on stars, would you believe? Radiating stars, things that radiate out from a centre. And you wouldn't think that to look at it, but that was in my mind. And I started with a grid. I drew every element in, and then I used watercolour. I either used watercolour paint, watercoloured pencils, or I bought some Pitt watercolour brushes, brush pens, marker pens to use. I can't remember what I used. It looks a bit too bright for the Pitts, so it might have been watercolour pencils or whatever. I like watercolour pencils. I'll come on to that in a moment. And I left the motifs just plain white, so they stand out. I haven't added any shading or anything, not sure whether I will. There's lots of ideas here, some of which you will have seen before, some of which you won't have. And then this was my very first page of Danielle Donaldson style peoples. And I've added colour to these with watercolour. I think I used watercolour pencils. I'm just reading what I said there. I used an 03 pencil for them, and I tried here a dark grey, a light grey, an 05, 01 or an 005 pen, and this looks a bit thicker, but it might not be. The pencil, I didn't like just pencil at the time. It didn't feel right to me, but I can still see there's pencil lines on her wings. I still haven't done anything with. I've used white gel pens to add some dots and highlights and a little star there. And I was pleasantly surprised with what I'd created. Poor lass looks so clumsy. She's in place. Here. but I really enjoyed doing it. So I've spent some time exploring. Oh, I can take that out. I think this was my first page actually, where I was drawing all of these. And then I decided to go on to people's. I actually like my sluggy thing here. I really do. This was the beginning of August. Forgotten I did my sluggy thing with some passengers. Well, it's snail, isn't it? Because it's got a shell. Sluggy snail. And started adding some drawings. I love my cute dragon. Don't know where that came from. He's a funny looking critter. And this one then has got some sort of like experiments with watercolour and so on, some exercises taken out of Danielle Donaldson's books. Mixing colours was interesting. This one I mixed colours with burnt sienna. And I think they were similar colours to I'd used on the page. And I love the way it turned it all very vintagey. So I've got a lot to learn about colour. This here is for me to write or to add things on. This was another page here of watercolour swatches. Just drew some squares on. I divided it up with a ruler and draw pencil lines in, and didn't make any effort to go up to the pencil lines with the watercolours. I just wanted to see what would happen as they mix together, or as I mix different colours, how I can fade them out, across this page, dropping colours in and seeing what happens. So I had this glorious mix of colours, or patches of colours. I've still got some I could do. And I thought, okay, so how do I add pattern to them? So here I tried pencil and white dots, pencil and some white dots, not so bad, just white dots, interesting. Pencil, very ghostly, which you most probably can't see. Paint, ugh, I'm not very good with paintbrushes. Prefer pens. Here I've got a very fine paintbrush and some white pens. That's actually quite nice with the darker dots in the middle. Though you lose the whiteness there. I think that's because the white pen I used picked up some of the watercolour from the paper. Then I went to black pens, finer black pens. That would have been something that bled in. I had to use something there that bled into the watercolour. I think I put those lines on while the watercolour was still damp. It's an interesting effect. I don't know whether it's something I'd use, but you can see. And then sort of like more Zentangly things, the kinds of patterns I use, little borders. I do love a border. Think about paper with a border along the edge for writing letters on, or things like that. I love it. And the same here. And here, these colours are lovely. I used a colour called Mars Brown with some other colours to mix those. And these are with umber. These are all these and this are Rosa watercolours, which are fab and not very expensive. And you get full pans of the colours, not half pans. And they work really, really well. So here are two more people. Again, sort of like, I'm doing almost like self-portraits, how I would these aren't as chunky as I am. But this one, your mistakes don't define you. I mean, I was looking at this thinking, oh, my colour choices. See, I'm not known for my style. I'll be honest here, I am not known for my style and being able to put colours together well and whatever. But, my choice and my mistakes don't define, or your mistakes don't define you, and that's so true. Same with art. Your mistakes in art don't define you. They're a learning opportunity, a creative opportunity. Sometimes you can go, now that's led me to something I never would have thought doing. Sometimes you have to find a creative way to disguise what you don't like or to change what you don't like. And sometimes it's a lesson like, that isn't for me. Here I've drawn these in a very fine pen line. Danielle Donaldson prefers to use fine pencils. And I just could not move from them. Everything felt wrong as far as things like, my drawing, because I'm so used to drawing in pen. But I'll come back to that. So I've got some birds here, which I do want to add colour to. This is from a different sketchbook. You can see it's portraits. And on the other side, even more people. Actually, these were my first Danielle Donaldson people, I think, or not. But I haven't finished adding paint to them or anything else. It's me learning. And then this is my kind of interpretation of the kinds of things with animals. I love my sheep. I started adding marker pen there, but it bleeds terribly. These I used both Rosa watercolours and Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils from Faber-Castell. I don't know what made me choose those watercolour colours. See, my mistakes don't define me though, because I will hopefully remember next time to think more carefully. And the others I haven't filled in yet, nothing on the back. Here are some more people, done with alcohol markers, not finished yet. I do tend to draw chubbly girls. I think it's because I'm chubbly. And why not? You know, I'm healthy, I'm well. You know, it's a trait in my family, and every woman in the family lives to a grand old age. So, you know, but this one is very much like me. Sort of, I've got much longer legs than I do, have to say. Sort of like a 34, 35 inside leg inch. It's ridiculous. But these all have meaning to me. You know, bunny sat on a carrot, so on. Wings, not winged, birds, crazy hair. All the hair's crazy. That would be more like me if I had thicker, fuller hair. And I did have a headband with stars on, and I've definitely got some that have got cat ears on. An outline. I love my cat ear ones. I don't wear them, they give me a headache, but I like them. And then for some reason, the other day I was playing around with letters. I don't know why, it just happened, and off I went. Started adding colour here, and looking at it, I can see why I'm not happy with this colour. It's because this paper is off-white. It's quite, if I put that there, you can see the difference perhaps. It's quite yellowy and off-white. But it's sort of like, kind of go, there's sort of like, there are links with the letters. Like A here, I've got an angel wing there and arches. I'm not quite sure what the seed pods and all the curves are, but everything is sort of like arched and so on. You know, who knows? The B, I've got lots of borders and bubbles. I know I've got leaves and things in there. You've got to have some variety. C looks like a crescent moon. So I've got shapes here that look like things shining. They look like weird buttons or weird seed pods of some kind, or, you know, things you'd find in the sea. But they're radiating, you know, sort of like the moon would, I guess, and things like this. I wasn't happy with that. I thought, what have I done that for? But I worked with it, and this is what I ended up with. Needs some colour. My arches are a bit weird, but hey ho, you know, perhaps it loops up and down, perhaps it goes up around there and back down, and it's just hidden underneath. It's fine. And D, I've got no idea why D goes with all of these triangles, other than perhaps it's design. Perhaps you can come up with a different reason why I chose to do that with D. And I'm working on the others. I actually did G before I did the others, and I've got no idea how that design fits in with the letter G. But for some reason, I've taken little bumps out, circles, and who knows what I'm doing there with the letters, but it was all good fun. And this one, for a change, I put little blocks in, as well as some curly bits. I love these curly bits. So that's that. These I will come back to, and you can see that I would like to add colour to them. And I know where these came from. It's in my other sketchbook, which I'm going to get to. This one, I do work in this as a sketchbook because I can tear the paper out, but I can never put it back in. So I tend to work in this, and the fact that I'm having to work in here with awkward hands and so on means I make lots of mistakes. Don't always draw lines. My lines don't go as I want to if my hand falls off the edge of the book, and I need clips to keep it open. But that means that I'm trying not to be as precious about my work. I take this as a book that I can just muck about in and see what happens. I actually started this back in March 2023. I found this book in a pile of things. I've put it to one side, forgotten I'd done this. These, I think, were all inks that had come. I think they were my octopus fluid inks. I'm not sure, and perhaps some diamines and so on. I was trying them out to see what was happening, just drawing things. And I actually enjoyed the process, to be honest with you, because I do. And there's another page with some horribly bright orange. But, you know, you work with what you've got. Some of these, I know that some of these were inspired by Rebecca Blair, who you can find on Instagram. And then This page here, it's full of little roofs. Again, it's something from Danielle Donaldson, who suggests working on little collections of things. In her book, she had a collection of things that make houses, so roofs and windows and house shapes and doors and flower pots and lamps and things like that you could choose from to put things together. I started drawing roofs and I carried on, even to the point where I've got the top of the lighthouse because, well, why not? No idea where this came from. I just decided that I was going to draw an A and do embedded letters Entangle style. And I've got no idea. It just happened. And I'd filled these black sections in around it with patterns, didn't like it, so filled them in with black, white stars, added very pale colour, watercolour to sections, some darker one to these sort of like seeds there. These look almost like caterpillars or rigidy grubs or something. And this lovely red brown for my letter, A for Angela. And then collection again, bottles and vases, vessels, I suppose. And this is where, like here, I was using watercolours. I'm not sure what oh yeah, I know what I've used. It's a set of paints that I bought from Japan, which are like Kuretake Gansai, these. But they've got colours that are more muted, more vintagey, and they can be incredibly intense, or you can use the tiniest amount and you get this beautiful kind of colour. So they're not as bright and vibrant as most of the watercolours I've got, which makes me very happy. And of course with white spots and things on. So I was playing around with those to see what happens. These were from the same set. Lovely, love that red brown. Of course I'd mix and match everything. And these were the same things. So I've got all these lovely bottles. Now here, I don't know if you've noticed, here I've added pen lines to some of these, and others I've kept them in pencil. I do need to go over some of the pencil because it's smudged with my hand on them. But I realised that actually I quite like the subtlety of pencil. Suddenly something's clicked. And I think it's because these colours are much softer and gentler than I'd used before. And this one, I've left the pencil lines in there and I've gone back and added more to them and made them thicker where I need them to be thicker to give the illusion of, depth, dimension and so on. Little white spots for highlights. Same here. I have got a pattern in here and I need to do something about that pattern. I'm likely to go back and use some gold and copper paint perhaps to bring that out, or pens. Pens might be better for me, but I haven't done that yet. But this one, some of the things I love. I mean, ravens, owls, fish, two skulls in drunken skulls in party hats, mug of tea. Talking of that, there we go. Books for reading and for looking at pretty pictures and getting inspiration. Music is something I love. I've got branch there. On one end, I've got one that's got berries on. I've got oak leaves on the other. Then I've got paper and various drawing, art instruments that I love. So I've got like a fountain pen. I've got a mechanical pencil, brush, marker, pens, stars and moon. Yeah, I've got stars there. I've got hearts, and arches. You know me, I love a good round arch. I love Romanesque architecture and Gothic. And these arches with the patterns in often come out in my work. There is just something so satisfying about having arches, or parts of arches. I find them very pleasing, and they're very characteristic of me. I think on this owl I may have overdone the white dots. My raven isn't as iridescent as I'd like, but I can solve that with some iridescent paints or metallic paints I've got. Another collection here, I've got mushrooms. I drew these in pen. And I like them. But when I look at the delicacy of my moths here, and the delicacy of the pencil lines, and the softness of them, that feels very harsh to me. again, there's this shift that's happening, or this appreciation that there are different ways of doing things. Very soft colours, and soft watercolours. I think these again were those Japanese ones. If you want to know what they are, I will look them up. In the UK, I had to buy them on eBay, but they were shipped without any extra shipping, and they arrived in a few days. And they were pricey because they're really good quality. I have to say that. And there's 25 in a set, so for 25 big pans of watercolour. But the colours are so delightful. My only gripe is there's not a yellow in there. There's a browny, an ochre yellow, but not something that's a bit more yellow. But that's okay because I've got yellows in other sets, so it's not a problem or issue. I spoiled myself for my birthday. Done these owls, and I've left these in pencil. I'm not happy here with these marks on here I made for that. I should have chosen a lighter colour. But I like the way I've used white to bring things out. I like the little feathers I've done. And there's something just so delicate. And I've used the pencil to add shadow to them. I haven't put shadow around them. I did there with, actually I have in all of them with some, except that one, with some watercolour, very pale, but is very, very faint. This was another attempt at a letter. And I thought, right, I'm going to draw in pencil and add colour. I think this is at the stage, as well as the what was I thinking with those colours there. Don't ask, I have no idea what I was thinking. But I've got B for buttons and B for, I don't know what else. Oh, berries and buds, buds, seed pods. I don't know if there's a B for shells, but we've got shells there. Bloody arches again. But yeah, just things that, either remind me of B or just seem to fit in there. Stars. I like actually worked out I really like piling stars together. That made me quite happy. Then this is one that I've started but not finished. So I'll go back to that. I'm using an 03 pen to draw that. And again, it's something where I want to keep the design light and airy. So I'm trying to leave open space and not fill everything in. So I want a page filled with that. And then I can either add colour to the background or colour to the foreground, but not both. That's my theory anyway. So here I'm adding colour to the foreground. I'm not sure how I like this. I may prefer this kind of lettering, but unless you try, you don't know. It's an experiment, and I will go back to adding colour. I think I started with some rosa watercolours, maybe some others that I've got here in this section, and then I went to more delicate. I started using the watercolour pencils, the Albrecht Dürer, which I actually really like using. You'll see that in the next video. Here I've started collecting favourite shapes. Just looking at things, looking at shapes I like, put them all in one place, because if you remember back to a book with the I haven't got that shape in here, so let's add that. That'll do. I like that shape. I like that shape. And let's not forget, I love a spiral of all kinds. So I'm just adding some as I go along, but different kinds. There's things that remind me of roofs and of other things, and shapes piled together. I'm having fun looking at things and picking these out and collecting them together. I mean, I don't know how many's there, but there's a good few. And then some other ideas. Some of the shapes turned into leaves, or feathers rather, and some just turned abstract. This one looks like an angel now. Who knows? Who knew what I'm doing? And just different things, different shapes, just seeing what I can do. I'm not going to add colour to these and leaving them as they are. But this is a work in progress. And this is using a shape that is basically a rectangle, but I've kept rounded around or inside the corner, as it were. And you end up with shapes that look a little bit like feathers. They could be strange shaped roofs. They could be houses. They could be plants that are growing. It could be anything. It could be features on buildings. Some of these I'm happy with, some I'm not. I don't know what I was thinking with that one, but until you do it, you don't know. And I only used 4 colours. I used a middle phthalo blue, I used a light cobalt turquoise, a dark cadmium yellow, and a light magenta. And I tried to keep the colours fairly pale and pastel. You can see the pencil lines, and some of them I've actually gone back over them. So here, I don't know if you can see, this one I've gone over the lines with pencil to bring them out, to add some definition. This one I've left them as they were originally. I prefer them having gone over. And here I've started adding some shading with the pencil. There's nothing to stop me using something like a tortillon to add some pencil shading. I'm not a fan of that though, never have been. I don't like the cold greyishness of it and the mucky look it gives, but it's possible. I've used 0.3 mechanical pencils. I've used, the first drawing, I used a 0.3 graph gear pencil from Pentel, and I put an H lead in it. H means hard, and it's just an H. The bigger the number in front of the H, the harder the pencil is and the lighter the line it makes, the more likely it is to mark the paper, and it's difficult to erase. So I chose an H, and then for going over, I've used, I think is it a Tombow Kuratoga? A Kuratoga mechanical pencil, again an 03, and that's got an F lead in it. Now an F is between an HB or a number 2 pencil and an H pencil. So it's a little bit harder than a usual pencil you'd buy, general purpose pencil, but not as hard as an H. And there is a difference, and notice you might not see it there. There is a noticeable difference to my eye with the kind of darkness of the line I can get, which is here. So I'm exploring with that as well. The interesting thing is I actually really enjoyed doing these in pencil. It's not something I thought about doing. It just comes about, thank you to Danielle Donaldson. So I'm going to come back this evening, hopefully. I mean, it's 4 o'clock now, well, 4:15. Got to sort this video out and get it uploaded, where I'm going to try and come back and do a live stream. I'll put the details up in the comments, possibly with a shape like this, or maybe one of my other shapes, or some other ideas. I might do some of the feathers and do those with you. Now you've seen these, and see what we can come up with. This is an A5 page. I like A5, it's not too overwhelming. So A5 is about 20 centimeters by 15, which in inches I do not know, but I have a ruler so I can tell you. Yeah, there we go. So it would be about 8 1/4 inches by about 5 3/4 inches. So, and it's a nice size. It's not overwhelming, but you can get a lot in there, especially if you draw tiny or titchy-ish like I do. So I shall see you hopefully later today. If not, I'm definitely going to try tomorrow. And I'm going to say thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at my latest work. I'm sure there's plenty lurking around here that I haven't filed away yet, that has been put to one side for one reason or another. I know I've got colour palettes to stick in the one sketchbook, or little samples of mixed colours and so on for me to keep track of. And it'll be nice to see you again. So until then, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and have a mug of tea, coffee, something to eat. Fingers crossed I'll be back later. It's probably about 7, 7:30 my time. I say probably. Hopefully I won't fall asleep. All right? On my time, UK time. So until I see you again, take care, find time to be creative, and look after yourselves. Bye-bye now.